Hello again, everybody. So today we're going to be going over equivalent expressions, which is a big popular question on the SAT, and we'll go over tricks to make it easier. So we'll do 3 problems, starting with this one. Which of the following is equivalent to parentheses x minus 3 squared, close parentheses, x plus 3, close parentheses squared. Okay, so you always want to look at the answer choices to get information, right? So there's going to be an 81, which makes sense, right? Because 3 squared times 3 squared. And then there's going to be an x to the 4th, which makes sense, x squared, x squared. Okay, great. And then the question is there going to be this 18x squared? If there is it going to be positive or negative? And is the 81 positive or negative? So the thing you don't want to do that might make the most sense is to square x minus 3 and square x plus 3 and then multiply them together, right? If you think about PEMDAS, you would do exponents before you do multiplication. But remember, exponents are often just a shorthand for multiplication. So if we write this out, we can do this. X minus 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 3. So what you can think then is like x minus 3 times x plus 3, that would give you a difference of squares, which we'll go over in a second. And this one times this one is the same thing, right? X minus 3 times x plus 3. So if we do x minus 3 times x plus 3, and you FOIL out, you'll get x squared. So you'll do this times these two and this. You'll get x squared minus 3x plus 3x minus 9. And then those cancel, so you get x squared minus 9, which is great. So that's difference of squares, right? You get 2 perfect squares, and there's a difference there. One's positive, one's negative. And now we know the other one's identical. So we did this one, let's say, and now we'll do these two, which are the same. So that'll also get us x squared minus 9. And then when you do that, you do negative 9 times negative 9, and that gives you positive 81. So it's not going to be C, it's not going to be D. And then if we FOIL this out, we'll get x squared times x squared, x to the 4th, minus 9 x squared minus 9 x squared plus 81. You get x squared minus 18 x squared plus 81. And that's a lot better, right, than if you'd done x minus 3 times x minus 3, which would give you a trinomial, and then done this and getting 2 trinomials to multiply out. You keep it by doing it through difference of squares, you keep it as 2 binomials and then just get 1 trinomial at the end. And it will be A. And then really what you want to think about here is to remember that a lot of questions on the SAT have tricks, right? They're built in. There's some sort of logic going on, an inner logic. So there's the brute force method, which would be x minus 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 3. And then there's usually a more elegant solution. So here you do it by doing x squared, by defining this difference aspect and getting x squared minus 9 times x squared minus 9, and that gets you A. So you might never see a problem like this, but it's helpful to think about when you see a problem that looks complicated, how can I use the answer choices to organize my thinking? And how can I make it easier for myself? And of course, you could maybe plug in this into Desmos, plug these into Desmos and see which ones are identical, but doing all that plugging in is tedious. Okay, so let's look at this one. It is, which of the following is equivalent to x squared plus 4 plus x plus 2 times x minus 2? Okay, so thinking back to what we just did in the first question, right? We don't want to do x squared plus 4 times x plus 2, get a trinomial, and then do that trinomial times x minus 2, right? That will be more difficult and more time consuming. right? Even though you might do it and get it perfectly right, you want to find a more elegant solution. So here, let's start with x plus 2, x minus 2, right? You should notice the plus and the minus. That's going to give you a perfect difference of squares. So you'll have x squared plus 4. And then let's do this one out, right? So, I'll erase this. So you'll have x plus 2 times x minus 2. So do this times this and this times this. So x times x gets you x squared. 2 times x gets you 2x. X times negative 2 gets you the negative 2x. And 2 times negative 2 gets you negative 4. And obviously, when you recognize it, you don't have to do that, all this writing out. You can just know it's going to be x squared times negative or plus minus negative 4. So it's going to be x squared minus 4. And this works really nicely because then you have x squared plus 4, right? So you look at this, this should also give you a perfect squares, perfect difference of squares. And if we look at the answers, right, it's same as the before, right? We have certain things established. X to the 4th doesn't matter. They all have that. 16 kind of matters, kind of doesn't, right? The 16 is going to be in there, but the sign is different. And then this negative 8 or positive 8 might not even exist. So then if we do this, right, we'll do the writing out, but obviously on the test, you should be able to recognize that this would give you a perfect difference of squares. And that would be x to the 4th minus 16. But I'll write it out here. X squared times x squared will get you x to the 4th. You get minus 4x squared plus 4x squared minus 16. Apologies again for my awful fours. One day I will write beautiful fours. You get x to the 4th minus 16, which is B. Lovely. All right, and last one for today. Which of the following is equivalent to this? So here we're going in reverse, right? And on this one, you could do Desmos. You put this equation in, see where it crosses the x-axis, and that gives you the solutions, right? So if it crosses at 3, that means x minus 3 is a solution. If it crosses at 0, that means x is a solution. But we're going to do it the old-fashioned way and just go and look at the answer choices. Instead of trying to factor this, which you could do theoretically, I'm going to FOIL these out, but I'm going to eliminate before I do anything like that. So this is giving us x. So that would make everything have an x, which is not true. So that's not going to be the answer. And then let's go to D, right? X times x squared gives me x cubed. 2 times x squared gives me 2x squared. X times negative 9 gets me negative 9x. And 2 times negative 9 gets me negative 18. And if we look, actually, that's exactly the answer. So I got lucky on my first attempt after eliminating C, right? I found the answer. But let's check the other ones just in case, right? If we went to A, which is more natural, probably for most people than D, it would be x squared plus 6 times x minus 3. You FOIL. You're going to get x cubed minus 3x squared plus 6x minus 18. So we have the minus 18 and x cubed, but this is totally wrong. So A would not work. And then B is more annoying because there's 3 pieces, but we'll work it out, right? So when you have something like that, you x plus 1. Let's do that times negative 3 for x minus 3 first. So that'll get us x squared plus x minus 3x minus 3. That gets us x squared minus 2x minus 3. And now we're going to multiply that with x times -6. When I do that, I like to do the binomial times the trinomial. That's how I do it in my head. So I'll do x times everything. So that'll be x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x. And then I'll do -6 times everything. So it'll be -6x squared plus 12x plus 18. And then add them together. So x cubed, there's nothing to add, minus 8x squared plus 9x plus 18. And that is not the right answer, which is great because we already said D was the right answer. So this one's a bit less elegant than the other ones, but you can see how just by looking at it, you can eliminate C automatically without doing the work. And then the other parts aren't too bad. You know, you could try to factor it and that might help, but that's not necessary. If you did want to factor it, it would be something like this, right? Pull out the x squared in the first two, so you get x squared, x plus 2, and then pull out the -9, x plus 2, and then you get x squared minus 9, x plus 2. And you could factor x squared minus 9, right? The answer wasn't written like that, but it could have been x plus 3, x minus 3, x plus 2, but that didn't happen, and that's okay. So our answer is D. You could factor that way, but I want to show you if you're stuck on factoring, you could always use these answer choices to help you. And that is it for today. Again, if you have any comments or questions, any feedback, let me know. And if you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Thanks.